FM 94, The Dark, it is that time again. It's time to get to know a band we play here on The Dark, and it's kind of like a reunion, I guess, as we're talking with the lead singer of the band, the Veer Union, that being Crispin Earl. And Crispin, let's talk about it right away. The last time you and I had a chance to talk was back in August of 2014, and in fact, you were just coming through here to Minnesota, and if I remember right, you were just about ready to celebrate a birthday and have some fun with some of your touring mates. Do you remember that about 5 years ago?
That sounds about right, man. That definitely sounds about right, for sure.
What's been going on since then? What have you been doing the last 5 years? Just making good music, right?
Well, yeah, lots of stuff's been going on in the last 5 years. I would definitely say that, I think a couple of years ago we signed a deal with Pavement Entertainment, and we put out an album called Decade. And after that album, I decided to start my own record label, and we just released an album called Decade 2 off of that album. And this is the first time we kind of said, you know what, let's just do it ourselves, man. And it's just been such a blessing that things have been going so well ever since we did, because it doesn't always go that way. So yeah, it's been really cool, man. Just making a lot of music and working on the label. I've been producing a lot of artists as well that I'm going to be putting out on my own label in over the next couple of years. And so yeah, just working my ass off, man. That's it.
That's great to hear. I know when we talked 5 years ago, we were talking about kind of the label thing and how things have kind of transpired, and you obviously deciding now to go on your own and do your own thing. It's a challenge, isn't it? But also it's a rewarding thing in the long run.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I thought, I always had this feeling like this is probably the way to go, but it's the scariest thing that, you can ever do. And anybody, take away the music from the business, but just doing, just getting into your own business, you have to spend your own money, and there's not always a guarantee that you're going to see a return on it.
Right.
In a perfect world, you're hoping to break even, and if you can, and we've definitely done more than break even for the first time. So, we're very, very happy with how things are going, and they seem to be going in the right direction.
This show is about breaking up-and-coming artists. So let me ask you this question. First of all, obviously you're on your own now, doing your own thing, so that's cool to help your career. But are you also excited to maybe be able to help other people with their careers too?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been doing this for so long now, and I can see so many bands just, it's surprising in this day and age how few bands really just they just don't know how to get from A to B. And it's always been exciting. I mean, even at the very beginning of my career, we were going around to high schools, and, I was consulting with kids that were interested in the music business, and, just seeing their eyes open of like just how much they didn't know. It's always exciting to be able to, teach people, to help them and guide them on their way so they don't make, a lot of the mistakes that I've made in my career. So, it's definitely, it's something I've always been interested in, but I'm really excited to get further into that as I go on in my career.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, in the music industry and you made mistakes over the way, and I know you probably had people that guided you one way and it wasn't the right way, and then obviously you learn from that. And sometimes you get scarred by that. And that. Let me ask you, the younger generation coming up, sometimes they seem to, like, I guess, for lack of better words, know it all. Are they actually willing to suck up some advice from somebody that's been in that industry, in the business before?
I think it really depends on the person. I think it's a good question. But I think for the most part, the people that don't want to take the advice, good luck to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you're going to trip and fall, and you're going to make those mistakes, and that's what life's all about. But, in a perfect world, trying to not make those mistakes, I'm happy to work with the people that are interested in trying to not make those mistakes, and that are also have a good work ethic. And I will say about the younger generation, the honest truth is, from what I've seen about the younger generation, is they all expect to be rich and famous overnight. And those people are going to trip and fall, and they're not going to get back up, because it doesn't happen that way, not anymore.
Yeah, I will 100% agree with that when you say that about the younger generation. Everybody thinks they're going to be rich tomorrow, flying on planes and all that kind of stuff, doing touring, not in the little buses and the little cars and with the, the trailers in the back, right?
Exactly.
Hey, of course, you guys are out on tour now. You're just starting a big tour here for the next couple of months, and I know you're excited to get out there. Is it always fun and exciting to get out on the road?
Oh, it always is. There's no question. I mean, let's put it this way. Every single time you get to the end of your tour, you're like, oh, man, I can't wait to get home and sleep in my own bed. And then it seems like, a month or two later, when you're in the studio, you're like, oh, I can't wait to get out of the studio and get back out on the road. And the cycle continues. It just doesn't seem to end. It doesn't matter what age you are. If you're really passionate about doing what you do, it seems like you're always in that cycle.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. If you have the passion, you're going to put up with whatever hell you have to run through. And I'm sure you've gone through your sorts of hell when you've been out on tour, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely. There is no question. And it never ends. No matter what your financial position is, doesn't matter where your song is on the charts, it is always, I just call it the adventure now. We just get past the nightmare and just call it the adventure.
Crispin, what's the most rewarding thing about going out on tour? Is it just meeting your fans, or is it, when you're singing a song, all of a sudden you could just stop singing and they sing along? What I guess, give us what it feels like to be out on tour. I
think that the entire process, when you're making, you slug it out in the studio and make that song or that album, and you believe in your heart it's the best song that you've ever written. And then when you get out and you release that song or album and you see people singing it back, and just the energy between you and the crowd, that's just something that you'll never get unless you're actually out on the road doing it. And, and it's fun. It's also just the behind the scenes, just hanging out with your best friends and, going through the adventure with your best friends, and you'll have stories to share for the rest of your life. And that's what it's all about for me. Yeah,
I know. I mean, a lot of fans, obviously they get to the concert, they see the concert, they might hang out a little afterwards, and then they go away. Well, there's still 20-some other hours of the day each day that you guys have to fill and do things, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. And now more than ever, because as an entrepreneur, as an artist, let's put it this way. We just spent the last 3 or 4 hours driving to the next gig or
right.
to the first gig, and I've been on my computer doing admin the whole entire time. If you think it's just a matter of getting up on stage and rocking out for 45 minutes to an hour every day, then you don't know what the music business is all about.
No.
It's a full-time job.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're talking with Crispin from the Veer Union. Hey, speaking of that, being an entrepreneur, are there any other things that you're maybe out there doing right now besides the music side of things? Are you trying to dig into some clothing or jewelry or, those kind of things, or are you just sticking with the music?
I'm mostly songwriting for other artists, producing other artists, and developing. That's essentially what my label is about. There just seems to be no development for bands these days, and so that's what my company essentially wants to do, is just be able to help bands develop, and because so many bands just don't really know what they're doing, to be honest.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you're out on tour, and I know when you come to Minnesota here on May 2nd, you'll be at the Skyway Theater in downtown Minneapolis. You're bringing an up-and-comer called Never Wake. Tell us about this band. Is this kind of one of your projects, or is it just an add-on?
This actually was just a good friend reached out and said, I think these guys would be a really good fit for you on your tour. And I'm like, well, I hear that all the time. And then I actually checked out the demo, and I'm like, wow, these guys are good. This is, so I trust the person that reached out to us, and I was like, you know what, we're gonna definitely bring these guys out, and I think people are really gonna dig them.
Yeah, and we've spin them on our airwaves here, and they have at least a good sound, what we've heard so far. So how about some bands that you're helping out? Is there any bands that you can tell us about right now that maybe we should think about listening to?
Honestly, there's 3 or 4 bands, but I'm keeping it under wraps because I'm really excited about, pushing that all at the right time. But there's some really, really exciting projects that I'm working on, and as soon as I get off this tour, actually, I'm going to be diving into the studio and finishing off a couple of projects that I've signed, and yeah, lots of stuff to come up to talk about, but unfortunately, I can't. I can't talk about them yet.
That's okay. That gives me a reason to give you a call in a couple months, and we can do it again, right?
Perfect. That sounds great, man. Absolutely.
Hey, I want to talk quickly here before we get going about the Decade 2 Rock and Acoustic LP and some of the tracks on there. Currently spinning on rock radio right now is Save Yourself, and it just, I think, entered the top 20 on the Foundations chart, the secondary active rock chart recently. Give us some legs on that. What's the history behind that song?
That song actually goes way back. It's one of the songs that I had originally written the first incarnation of that song over a decade ago. I wrote essentially the chorus is very similar, and if you go to iTunes, you can actually hear the original version,
Okay.
which is on our Decade 3 demos and B-sides. Now, essentially what the song is about, everybody goes through a lot of tough times, including myself, no matter whether
Right.
things are great or not. But yeah, essentially the song is about don't let yourself be your own worst enemy. It can be really easy to become depressed and let life beat you up, but don't let yourself be the person that's causing that. Sometimes you just have to realize that maybe those voices in your head you shouldn't listen to, and just focus on what's keeping you straight. Keeping you making you wake up in the morning, and that's essentially what that song is about.
That's awesome. And one thing I do want to say to you, I just want to say it was an unbelievable version of the Numb acoustic cover you did of Linkin Park. I mean,
Thank you.
I don't know. It sent chills up and down my spine when I heard it for the first time.
Wow, thank you so much, man. That means a lot. I really do appreciate that.
What was it like to do that? I mean, I know it was such a kind of a tribute to the late great Chester Bennington a year after he passed away. Well, what was that like? And then what kind of reaction? I mean, I think you've got a great reaction on it. I mean, from what I've heard, is it's just a phenomenal number that you did. So,
well, thank you. I would definitely say that it was scary going into
Right.
doing such a big band song and
Right.
covering it, and obviously Chester. I've just always been a huge fan of Linkin Park, and Chester as a frontman and singer has always been a big influence on me. So my biggest thought was, if I'm going to do this, I just don't want to screw it up. But at the same time, I also don't want to do it exactly the same way Linkin Park did it.
Right.
Because what's the point? I want to do it the way the Veer Union would do it, so it stays true to us, and hopefully, in a perfect world, stays true to them. And I think that we achieved that, judging by the fantastic response we've been getting from the song.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, it's a great rendition of it. Well, in fact, we'll play it here coming up in just a few minutes. I know you got to get going back to the tour thing, but so we go from a hard question to a light-hearted question. The last time I talked to you, we were talking about, if somebody had to cover one of your songs, who would you have? And originally you'd said Chris Cornell, which unfortunately passed away. But then in a joking side of things, you said, well, maybe Katy Perry, because I'd like to meet her. So my question to you, Crispin, did you get a chance to meet Katy Perry yet?
No, it's still dreaming of it, man. Still dreaming of it. But you never know. I'm not giving up hope.
I just had to ask. I mean, the fans probably want to know, hey, did he ever get a chance to meet her or not?
That's too funny.
I'll give you something to think about, all right? At least you'll remember us by this interview now on that, okay?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Hey, if people want more information about the Veer Union and, of course, the tour going on, how can they get a hold of you on that?
Well, it's if you want to find out what's going on with the band, definitely go to theveerunion.com. We actually have a really cool promo that's going on right now. We're actually giving away a couple of custom guitars. So if you go to theveerunion.com, you can go sign up your email, and you just might get entered into the draw to get a brand new free custom guitar. Also, if you go to facebook.com/The Veer Union, Instagram.com/The Veer Union, basically everything The Veer Union, and you will find us there.
Awesome. A lot of fun talking to you again. Glad to,
yeah, you too, man.
Glad to hook up again, and I'll definitely reach out to you here in a few months after you're done with the tour and see what some of those new projects you have coming up. That'd be great.
That sounds awesome, man.
Enjoy the tour. We're going to play your latest song right now, Save Yourself. Will sound good?
Awesome. I appreciate that, man. Thanks for your time.
Once again, that is Crispin Earl, the lead singer of the Veer Union. Their latest song is called Save Yourself. It's on The Dark. It's on FM 94.